Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Libra for May 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, to see more about my personal live coaching, as well as my 28-day virtual coaching program, both of which are available on a sliding scale. Also, you can check out my upcoming class schedule. Depending on when you look, I'll be adding classes on there. And you can sign up for my free email newsletter, which makes you part of my community, and you get lots of goodies from doing that. So what's going on in May? May is a time of rest, and if you are not volunteering to rest, it will be imposed upon you in the many ways that that can look. We're just leaving a time, depending on when you're watching this, you might still be in it, but May itself is a time when we've just left a lot of the strongest energy of the eclipses behind. We've left that strong energy of forward movement in the springtime behind. The end of February, March, and April were amazing months for launching, planting seeds, being busy, doing everything that you can to set things into motion for when this 6-month period of personal planet retrogrades starts, which is May and runs to the end of October, that you did all the things that you really needed to do in those clear energies. Now, there'll be plenty to do during this retrograde cycle and the next 6 months, but it's not the launches, it's not the brand new things, it's not, it's different. There are different things to do, and we'll talk more about that. You'll probably be needing the time to rest because the eclipses probably brought big changes for many of you. Some of those changes will have been awesome, the best news ever, things coming into place that are just magical and wonderful. And many of you experienced really bad, awful, life-altering news. Things about yourself, things about people close to you. And many of you will have received that information, the worst and the best, on the same day. I know I did. On the same one day, I got just power slammed and lifted at the same time, you know? And this is like that. It's just information of huge proportions coming in in every range. So if you're just recovering from that, then know that May is a time to adjust to the new schedule. So things will have changed from the information that you got, good and bad. And May is a time to get familiar with things, to have a routine, to just flow with things without having an agenda. That's very much the theme of the month, is do not have an agenda. The less you have an agenda, the more happy you'll be. And I think that that's true in life in general, you know, but there are some times, like February, March, and April, that there are certain agendas that really needed to be focused on. Possibly the eclipses thwarted some of them and you have to make changes, but still there are times astrologically when really being on task, having an agenda is really indicated. But there are times like when Mercury's in retrograde, like when you have 6 transits to the sign of Gemini, a planet in the sign of Gemini, which rules this movement and energy and fast thinking and fast acting and just kind of being mobile, information, transportation, communication. You've got 6 aspects that are antagonistic to that energy in May, besides Mercury retrograde. So you've got, right at the beginning, we have May 3rd, starting with 2 major transits. One is Mercury opposing Saturn. And when I say major, it's not major along the proportions of like the Uranus-Pluto oppositions we've been talking about, because major gets more major when you have 2 outer planets involved, because they're like all superseding long-term things. Anything involving Mercury is by nature kind of short-term. But for this month, you're going to notice it because it's a theme of things wanting to move and be fun and spiraling around, and then something antagonistic coming and stopping it. So this first aspect happens on May 3rd, where Mercury, which is now in its native sign Gemini, or one of its native sign Gemini. I mean, that's really the native sign. It also rules Virgo. But Mercury is having this 180-degree aspect to Saturn, which is like the authority figure, the bringing down to earth, the stern kind of energy. And an opposition is an antagonistic force. So movement, information, transportation is somehow blocked. That same day we have the full moon in Scorpio, and we know that full moons bring fullness and completion and endings and often emotional things. And when the full moon is in a water sign, like it is in Scorpio this month, May 3rd, then it's probably going to be more emotional. So you've got someone coming in and stopping something, and then there's something emotional going on. Probably two separate things that are just happening at the same time, but that's a really big day. It's a good day to leave some space in your schedule for dealing with whatever comes up. You might come to see that leaving some space around the full moons, you'll be happy doing that, because then you don't have to be overscheduled when you really just want to sit down and deal with the things that are happening. So then May 15th, we have Mars now also in Gemini coming into an opposition with Saturn. Okay, so again, the energy of movement, Mars, ruled by Aries, which is forward movement, in the sign of Gemini, which is very active. Saturn coming and saying, nope, something's stopping whatever you're trying to do. Now, that next couple of days, we've got the 15th, or the 17th and 18th, depending on what time zone you're in, we've got the new moon in Taurus. And the new moon energy is going to be happening, so you can make your new moon wishes along all things Taurus. So you can wish for things like financial improvement, things involving emotional security, things involving anything earthy, materially related. And that's happening, but on either side of the new moon, we've got this Mars-Saturn opposition thing, which is kind of, again, stern and stopping energy, like stymieing. And then right after the new moon, we've got Mercury going retrograde. And we know the days before and the days after Mercury going retrograde can even be more haywire. So this month is just, there's this theme of being stopped at the pass. There's this theme of things that want to move and are stifled. There's a theme of not having all the information. And at the end of the month, we have more transits like that. So Mercury is going retrograde May 18th. The shadow period starts May 4th. And Mercury goes direct June 11th. And its shadow period afterwards ends June 27th. So essentially all of May and June are cloaked in the Mercury retrograde. So it rules going backwards. It rules checking back into things. It rules getting things dealt with involving your cars and your other vehicles and your phones and your devices, and good things to do, or back up your computer, back up your devices, make sure you have a backup for your pictures, get your iCloud things or cloud things working out, you know, because the odds of you losing valuable information are very high this month. So before that happens, you want to have everything backed up, you know, have a good system. Also, the chance for car things to come up are huge, because Mercury rules Gemini, this also rules vehicles, and Mercury's going retrograde. And you have all of these antagonistic forces to planets in Gemini. So everything involving mobility has a chance to be very challenged. And that's on every level: mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, vehicularly, any place that you would move forward, communication-wise with your devices, you know, having your computer be out of commission, things like that are very likely this month. So when these things happen, try to not lose your mind, because they're happening for a reason. Do your diligence beforehand to try to back up things, save things, so that if something does happen, then you're protected. Like if you drop your phone in the toilet, which is going to happen to so many people, if you leave your phone on the car and you drive off and roll over it, that's going to happen to a lot of people this month. That you have the warranty, that you have the information backed up, that it can be a nuisance but not have to be as big of a deal as it would be if you didn't take these precautions. So then at the end of the month, we've got Mars squaring Neptune, Mars in Gemini squaring Neptune, Mercury in Gemini squaring Neptune, and the Sun in Gemini squaring Neptune. Neptune, when it's involved, especially in a challenging aspect like a square, it brings confusion. It brings not having enough information, not seeing clearly, things being cloaked and obscured. That's a theme for the month from all of the aspects. So just go with the flow. Don't have an agenda. Be flexible. That's always the advice that will make things easier for you. But certain months, it's more important to not have an agenda. And this is one of those months. People who might be making plans with you may not be aware that their plans are probably going to shift. You just need to be flexible. If you're trying to pin someone down, when are you coming to see me? Even if you pin the person down, they're probably going to change. Something's going to happen on their end, and something's going to change. So if you just know that beforehand, and you take with a grain of salt the plans that are being made, knowing that there's going to be a lot that goes on with the plans, then you'll be ready and you won't be disappointed or you won't be surprised. And that's what using astrology is all about. If you have a heads up that these things are coming, then you're not all out of sorts when they come because you had a chance to prepare yourself on all levels for these things. So something else is wonderful to do is reconnect with people. It's a wonderful time to reconnect with people. And all Libras are having very strong energy in the 7th and 8th house still, which are the partnership houses. So the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Gemini, Mercury, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus. That's what I wanted to say. Those are the personal planets. And all of those are going to be spending some time in, if not all the month, in the 7th or 8th house, which are the partnership houses. So relationships, things involving people coming from the past. Only you early Libras will have had Venus really, and some middle degree Libras will have Venus start to move into the 9th house. That's where all these planets are going next. So the 9th house is starting to be highlighted for early Libras, and the rest of you, this is coming. That teaching, learning, inspiring, religion, studying things, the things that unite behind the seemingly different faces. So like the things that are similar about all of the different religions, the things that are similar about different philosophies, the things that are similar about different countries and languages. That is the energy of Sagittarius, which rules the 9th house. And when Venus is there, that energy is highlighted. So writing, teaching, learning, broadcasting, publishing, international affairs of every different kind, different things with different languages, different cultures, religion, money, and possibly love is coming in that arena. So you might meet someone on a trip, especially a long distance trip or a foreign person. You might have money coming to you through something internationally based. Now, for the rest of you, you've got this energy and and even you early Libras still have what I'm about to talk about. You just have started to have some of the energy move into the 9th house, whereas for most of the middle and late degree Libras, this hasn't happened yet, but it will. But all of you have this spotlight on relationships. Wherever the Sun moves in the chart, it's like a spotlight. It brings focus. I've referred to this before as like describing when, if you have a room that doesn't have good light in it, then if you put a really bright light, which would indicate like the sun, and you see the more subtle things like the cracks in the paint and the cobwebs and the dust, that's what the spotlight is like, the sun, when it comes into each house, and it spends about a month in each field of experience that we have. So it's spending time in your relationships, your personal relationships, your relationships with people with money, your financial circumstances, things with your in-laws, your family, your spouse, debt, credit, inheritances, things like that. You're getting this spotlight put on your relationships and the things that you're bringing into your relationships and that are part of your world because of being in relationship with other people, like your things and their things. The spotlight is going on there. So there could be a focus on cooperation. There's a strong theme of cooperating and working on projects and collaborating for this month. And so you might have opportunities that come from people that you know, opportunities that come from the past. So Mercury retrograde isn't a time to do nothing. It's just a time to be aware that agreements that you make and information that comes in at that time, you don't have the full story, you know? So if someone comes in and makes you an offer, perhaps since Jupiter will be direct, now as of April 8th, it will start bringing opportunities. Some of you, this will come in the form of work, career, life purpose, things involving your father or authority figures. Some of you will have this in the 11th house, which is groups, organizations, teams, also anything involving the internet or social media. So one of those two aspects of life is going to be getting really jazzed up for Libras. And that's going to bring opportunities. Those opportunities, some of them, if it's in May, they're going to happen while Mercury's in retrograde. So you just have to know that what you're agreeing to or the terms that are being presented, they're going to change. And if that's okay with you, then it'll be easier. An example of this is the last Mercury retrograde. I had a wonderful offer from 2 fellow light workers in Switzerland to have me come and teach and do some workshops in Switzerland. And I was so excited about it. I love it. I've been wanting to go there. And so, but I knew Mercury was in retrograde. So rather than getting myself like getting the tickets then, right, I knew that something was going to shift about it, about what we were working on. And it turned out that the slots they had open, we can't get there at that time. So we're not going this year. But if I wouldn't have known Mercury retrograde better, I'd have been so excited, I'd probably buy a ticket, right? And things just, it just didn't work out that way. But I'm connected with them now, and I'm sure things will develop in the future. But that is the nature of the retrograde. So when you have someone come in and offer you something, it's very likely not going to turn out the way that you think it is. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You just need to know that going into it so you don't put too much stock in the information that's being given at the time, because the information is going to shift. And especially at the end of the month, when you have these aspects with Neptune, things are not what they seem. They're not going to be what they seem. So people coming in that might seem, things might seem rosy, might not be. Also things coming in that might seem not rosy might turn out to be rosy, because this Neptune energy just obscures things. And you just can't, and so does Mercury retrograde. So again, this month is don't have an agenda, don't trust everything you see, don't get too attached to anything, be flexible. It's an amazing time for connecting with people just for the sake of the relationship, not for any certain outcomes, not making any certain agreements that are too defined, just for the sheer joy of the connecting with people, or the connecting with collaborators, or anything involving, you know, debt, credit, finances, things like that. So let's see what else I wanted to talk about there. Definitely want to watch your speed and watch while you're driving. Mercury in retrograde can always bring more attention to things relating to communication and transportation. So if you are in a habit of not paying attention when you're driving, Mercury retrograde can bring up more things to make sure that you're paying attention. Texting while driving, talking while driving, while walking, you know, you've got to have your wits about you, because this energy is very scattered and it's very all over the place. And even if you are being focused, other people are not. You have to be extra, I don't want to say on the defensive, but just aware. Just be more aware. So I can't see what's going on in your personal chart. I would like very much to, if you would like some assistance in navigating all of the different caveats to Mercury retrograde, and all of these other transits, I would love to help you with that. You can go to my website, aspiritualspark.com. You can see more about booking a live session with me, and you can see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program, both of which are available on a sliding scale, my personal session and the virtual coaching. The sliding scale of my program called Shine, the virtual coaching program, is very low, very accessible to anyone who wants to change their lives. That's another wonderful thing that's indicated for Mercury retrograde, is going back over things, including your inner space. You know, I always say that if you really want to maximize the potentials of the stars, you've got to work on the inside. And as you shift the things on the inside, you shift your external realms. So this is a great time for that. And you can check out my class schedule, and you can sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So I hope you have a wonderful May. I'll see you next month. Bye.